All right, Heather. A through Z.
A through Z. I'm going to go with let's go with a H for Heather.
An H for Heather.
Yeah.
H. Okay, I've got something that specifically does with H. It is Woody Harrelson news.
Okay.
So that's how it works. H for Harrelson.
Okay.
He recorded or he did SNL, hosted SNL this past week. So it's another H, host. He hosted H&L or SNL, not H&L.
Man, I picked the right letter.
And apparently gave up his script for the monologue and just started going off on anti-vax bullshit rants. Because
really?
Yeah, he just thinks he's a fucking genius. Stupid asses.
Wow. Okay. What was he saying?
Just, we force people to get vaccinated and that's not freedom and blah, 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 blah. All that shit.
Interesting. I don't know why I did not necessarily peg him as thinking that way. All right.
It doesn't surprise me at all.
Okay.
These crazy little fucking hippies. They'll do all this shit.
I guess he is kind of a hippie.
Fucking heroin and then they go, but what's in the vaccine?
Yeah, I guess he is pretty hippie-like. Yeah.
That's why I hate all those people that are like fucking tatted out, just all kinds of tattoos and shit. And they're like, I'm particular about what goes in my body and all this bullshit and purity and blah, 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 blah. They don't know what the fuck's in tattoo ink.
True.
And I can say that as somebody that's got a good amount of fucking tattoos. I don't know what the fuck's in that shit.
Yeah.
What I do is I trust the people that know better than me, that they have done their work.
Correct.
And,
which is fair.
It's fine. There were people that were like, there are people I know that are like sitting there and they're all fucking smoking cigarettes and all this shit. I care about what's going in my body. I'm like, no, the fuck you don't. You don't. Not at all. Don't give me that shit. I can say that. I was smoking cigarettes right next to him. I get it. Like, shit don't matter. It's all fucking lies. And that's kind of just that shit I hate with it is they'll talk about all this and do all this shit and blah, 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 blah. But they're like, but you got to ask the questions. Like they confuse like just rational skepticism with the need to double down on their own bullshit. When they're like, what's wrong with asking questions? Well, when you get actual answers, don't sit there and then argue with them. That's not asking questions. Or they're like, what's wrong with doing my own research? I'm like, you're not doing actual research. You're not. You're reading fucking blogs on the internet and going, hey, this is research. You're not actually doing research. You're just reading other people saying shit. And on top of that, none of those people that are saying shit are doing research either. None of it's research. Because none of them are actually doing medical research. And then on top of that, none of them then, or any kind of research either. That even transcends the whole vaccine thing. When people get into that, what is it? Monica or whatever, that fucking numbers have meaning bullshit. Where they're like, you take all the letters and you assign them the numbers. And then if it reaches this number, it means something. It's like Grammatica or something like that. I don't know. Dude, that's a kicker in the NFL. Well, two kickers. It's the Grammatica brothers, but still, I don't know, that bullshit, and they're like, oh, you just got to do your own research. No, you're just reading fucking, Angel, what was that, that website shit from back in the day, GeoCities and like Angel something. But you can make your own like websites on that.
Oh, yeah.
But it's like that. They're reading that bullshit and thinking it's like news and shit. Acting like it is, and they're saying that's doing research and blah blah blah. He's just one of those fuckheads.
Gematria? Is that how you say it?
Yeah, that thing. Gematria or
Gematria.
Who gives a fuck? Fuck all that shit.
Gematria makes more sense because that reminds me of
it.
Well, actually, maybe not, but
it doesn't deserve any like the respect to say it right.
Right.
So it's that shit. And, you know, it's just all to feed their need of feeling like they actually know something. They don't.
Yeah.
But they like to think they do. It's kind of like what was it, another story from earlier in this week? Like with Mark Wahlberg at the SAG Awards. And him being the one presenting the award for best cast to Everything Everywhere All at Once. You know, the man who famously committed a hate crime against a Vietnamese man.
Yeah.
And not to say that you can't, you know, learn and change and all this other stuff. It's just the fact that he's not actually doing anything to learn and change. He just kind of says he has. And he's like, I don't see the need to apologize for it. And then going and trying to get it expunged from his record just because he doesn't like that people know that he's a criminal.
And it was like he asked for it several years later, right?
Oh yeah, he's constantly. I don't know if it's ever been granted, but it's not like a thing where he doesn't keep trying.
Oh, okay. He's tried more than once. Okay.
Yeah, because he kind of feels like since he's famous that he should be able to, you know, just get it dealt with.
Yeah. Because I'll be honest, like I remember, I think on the podcast, it actually is when I first heard about it. I know
specifically the episode you guys found.
Oh, really?
It was the Zack Snyder cut Justice League episode.
Was it?
Because Kurt was on.
Okay.
And I remember you, Justin, and Kurt were all like, what?
Interesting. Yeah, I really thought it was actually later than that.
Nope.
Okay.
That was the episode.
Yeah. But yeah, that was the first time I had like heard about what he had done. And I was like, how did I not know this? So I feel like I remember having a few conversations with people who also did not know this. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah. And like I said, he's never seemed like at all like contrite about it. You know what I mean? He's never once seemed like he actually has, you know, any sort of remorse in his system for it. He just hates the fact that people know and bring it up.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, and it's one of those things where like, yeah, I fully believe that like people can change and be different and all of those things, but it's kind of like how is it just because you're sorry people know, or are you actually like sorry about what you did and want to change from that? Are you only holding yourself back because you want to present a specific image to people, or are you like, I don't want to do this because I don't want to be that person, you know?
And he totally gives off the vibes that I'm just tired people know.
Yeah.
And you know what? I could be wrong. We could be wrong about it. That's fine. You know, and honestly, I'd love to be wrong about it. You know, because that's a terrible fucking thing. I hope that he's actually sincerely, you know, remorseful about it and all this other shit. He, you know, has taken lots of steps to move on and, you know, just wants to show how rehabilitated he is from that mindset in which he attacked a man because he was Vietnamese. Right. You know, so that'd be fucking fantastic. But I'm not surprised. The man's from Boston.
Well, my thing is with it, like the fact that when the cops arrested him and they were trying to ask the guy that he attacked, is this the guy? He decided to step in and be like, no, you don't need to do this. Like, yeah, I'm the one who beat him up. Like, why did he feel the need to, at that point, just like really own it?
Well, I think it's because the man couldn't see. One of his eyes was, one of his retinas was detached from his eye from how bad he was beat. And honestly, I could tell you why he did it. Because he didn't see anything wrong with it.
It was like he was proud of it almost.
Kinda, yeah. It's Boston.
So it's a rite of passage for him in a way, I guess. Or
Pretty
whatever.
much. And I'm not really even picking on Boston. Just ask any black player in the NBA in the 1970s that even played for Boston. They were racist as shit to their own players. I mean, I want to say Kareem was talking about why he didn't go to school, like college there. And part of it was because he's like, well, yeah, they're all fucking terrible racists in Boston. Why do I want to go to school there? That type of shit. I want to say it was Kareem. It was some NBA player said that back in the day. But that's the thing is it's, you look at it now, it's nothing's changed. That's still a big problem in Boston.
Yeah.
So
I am curious with the Woody Harrelson thing. I bet he got on the list of people never invited back to the show.
Oh, they did this whole ceremony at the end of the show, giving him his 5-timers jacket and all that shit.
Really?
Yeah. And I know that, that's a thing. They might have had it planned, but I mean, I think he was surprised by it. So obviously, I don't think he knew that was going to happen, and they weren't bothered enough to not let him do it.
Yeah, whereas it just kind of like, well, we already got it here. Let's just follow through.
It's that dumb fucking hypocrisy that places like that have, where anybody else, if they're, say Republican leaning, they'll skewer them for having that mindset. But anybody that, might be slightly liberal and does drugs with them and all this other shit says the same shit, then they're just forgiving of it. They're just eccentric at that point.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like, one of my biggest complaints, and I know I've said it online, I just don't know if I've ever said it on the podcast, politicians like Bernie Sanders. Everybody loves to see him as progressive liberal Jesus. And don't get me wrong, he's got, he tends to be very liberal and progressive with all that stuff. He's like, oh, you got to trust the science when it comes to vaccines. You got to trust the science when it comes to climate change. You got to trust the experts and the economists when it talks about, the economy and all this other shit. But when it comes to genetically modified foods, he flips his shit about that. And he's like, they need labels. People need to know it could be unsafe, blah, 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 blah. No, all, peer reviewed science, 98.5% of all peer reviewed science more or less agrees that genetically modified foods are perfectly safe and no different to your body than normal foods. But no, he flips his shit about that. So why all of a sudden do we not want to trust the scientists when it comes about the food safety when it comes to that shit?
Yeah.
And like I said, liberals and everything like that, give him a pass because he's liberal about everything else with that shit. But they're also they are of the same mindset. To me, it's no different. If you want to sit there and mock conservatives for not believing in climate science, then you know what? You got to keep that standard and believe the other science that says, hey, the food's fucking fine. Shut up.
Yeah.
It's not that hard. And it's that, and I feel like that's kind of the way it is with Woody Harrelson. He's been on the show multiple times. He's probably done drugs with most of the people there, at least weed at the very minimum. He seems just like a fun, cool guy. So they're just like, it's fine if he says dumb shit.
Right.
Like I said, if it was anybody else, Weekend Update would have a little fucking 5-minute segment making fun of him.
Yeah, if Chris Pratt had gone on there to do that, they would have just never let him live it down.
If Chris Pratt just said that in a fucking E-Entertainment fucking interview, they'd be making fun of him nonstop.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about all his bad shit. No. Treat them the same. It's all the same.
Yeah.
They're all stupid.
Not to say I don't actually know what Chris Pratt thinks about that. I'm just giving an example of somebody who's on the opposite side of that. Who's more Republican than most other Hollywood people are.
Kevin Sorbo.
Yep.
Dean Cain.
Okay.
I'm really just saying a bunch of no names at this point. These people that were really popular on shitty television shows in the 90s. And I say that as somebody that thought Hercules, The Incredible Journey was a fantastic show.
I liked Hercules.
But it was also shitty.
Did you ever watch Young Hercules?
Fuck no.
I didn't either, but I just was recently reminded that was Ryan Gosling.
Yes, it was. I did watch a lot of Xena, though.
Of course you did.
Xena.
That sounds about right. I did too, though. I liked Xena.
Something about Lucy Lawless in an all-leather getup is just a very fun thing. And some of the smartest television making I've ever seen.
To have her as that as her costume?
Yes. Just in general. Her and the costume.
Yeah.
I gave zero fucks what was going on in that show. But I tuned in
fair.
every week.
She's a striking woman. I understand.
I do love Lucy Lawless.
Yeah.
Anyway. Ready to get our drugs on?
Yeah, always.
Our drugged up mammalians. All right. Theme song.
Somebody will listen to me.
Nobody knows anything but you.
All right. Are you ready?
Yes.
Come on.
Cinema Slayers.
Hey, Cinefans, and welcome back to another episode of the Cinema Slayers podcast. I'm Sterling, and as always, I'm with Heather, but just Heather. No Jason. I totally forgot to call him that.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's what they called him.
They called him that on an episode of AEW Dark Elevation. And it was none other than Paul White, formerly known as The Big Show.
Oh, that's who it was?
Yeah, I called him Jason. In fact, they called him Justin first.
Yep.
They said Justin, then Jason. They were like, oh, I think it's Jason. I'm like, did you not listen to your own announcer call him Justin?
Yeah. And then they just went with JT or whatever.
Yeah, they called him JT at one point. But no, I totally meant to on the Ant-Man episode call him Jason. But I forgot then.
It's coming for him.
But now that he's not here, he can't stop me at all from calling him Jason. But no, Jason could not be here for this episode. So it is just Heather and I, and we will be talking about what we liked, didn't like, and everything in between with the movie Cocaine Bear. We will go spoiler-free recommendations and scores, and then into a more spoiler-centric section with time codes in the description to allow you to jump around if you so require. And with all that, Heather, what are your spoiler-free thoughts about Cocaine Bear?
Well, I only had like a vague understanding of the actual story that this was supposed to be based on.
I will say this. When we get to spoilers, I will go more in depth about the true events behind the story of Cocaine Bear.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But I mean, I had like a vague understanding of the situation and all of that. And it definitely, I mean, from the previews of it, seemed like it was going to be a very wild movie. And it was pretty wild, I would say. I feel like I don't think that it gripped me as much as I expected it to, just based, like, I feel like the movie sets it up to be this like million miles a minute type of movie with all of the content and the things that are happening in the story. But for whatever reason, it just didn't feel like gripping, and like every moment of the movie I was fully engaged, and that it just kind of had a weird, I would say probably, I guess, a pacing issue, because there were moments when I was like, all right, so this is dragging. Let's go back to this other storyline. Like, I don't know. It was kind of, and it wasn't even a long movie, but it just kind of felt longer than it actually was, I guess. But I mean, it's okay. You know, it's a fine movie, but it's not something that I would say is like the greatest masterpiece of a film ever made. I think some of the characters were amusing. O'Shea Jackson Jr., he was probably my favorite character in this movie. And yeah, I mean, you've got Kerry Russell, and she's usually pretty consistently good when I see her in movies. And you've got Ray Liotta. I believe this was his last film.
No, he's actually got 2 more movies coming out.
Really?
This fucker died, what, like 2-3 years ago? Like 2 years ago?
I thought he died last year.
I don't know.
But either way.
He's got 2 more movies, I think, that are still technically have not come out yet.
Interesting. Okay. Well, but yeah, it's got Ray Liotta in it. Yeah, it's got some interesting characters that I think some of them were more worth the effort to put in the film than others were. But, you know, it's one of those where you're just going to have to expect it's going to be just a bunch of chaos happening. But I mean, I'm trying to think of, like, if you're going to make a movie about a cocaine bear, I mean, there are a few things that you want to add more into this, but also what else if you're basing a whole entire story and script for a movie off of this story and situation, where else are you going to go with it? What else are you going to do with it? Right. So I have some ideas of things that probably would have made this a little bit better and more entertaining as a viewer. That being said, I have seen worse movies, but it was just, I kind of left the movie kind of feeling like nothing for it either way. I was just kind of like, meh, when I left the theater. So it's all right. It is nothing to write home about. It's going to be probably nothing I ever really feel the need to necessarily watch again or put in rotation anywhere. But it was an experience. It was something to experience once, just to see, you know, what happened. But it's fine. It's a fine movie.
There are 3 more movies that have Ray Liotta in them.
Okay.
Scheduled to come out. One of them has a release date.
Okay.
It's this May. It's called like Fool's Gold, or I don't know, Fool something. Anyway. But yes, he's got 3 more movies coming out.
Okay.
Why did I not look up Fool's Paradise is the name of the movie.
Okay.
Oh shit. Yeah. He died a little less than a year ago. So yes, that's all the backstory with that. The movie Cocaine Bear. It was not as good as it could have been.
Yeah.
This movie could have just been balls to the wall. Like, great. And there are times it really shows and lives up to that potential. But then it's also telling like 27 little stories that all interconnect around said cocaine bear. And they're all just wildly inconsistent with quality and pacing and
Yep.
care or importance. And they ultimately kind of drag the film down.
Yep.
And it's especially troublesome because, as far as I know, 99.9% of those stories aren't a thing in real life and don't have anything to do with the story of the cocaine bear or any of the surrounding events with it. So it's like, oh, you made up a bunch of shit just to distract and slow down your movie. I mean, when this movie is doing cocaine bear shit, it wildly succeeds. And those are some of the most fun and entertaining things I've seen in a movie in a long time. On just like a pure spectacle, like entertaining scale.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's just a bunch of other shit that doesn't matter. And I think just overall detracts and slows the movie down.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
And so I'm at this weird conundrum with it. And I do think part of it has to do with Elizabeth Banks's particular way of directing movies. She's really good at big moment scenes. Like in Pitch Perfect 2, when you get like the riff off scenes, really fantastic. And the ending number, you know, that whole, the international thing is a really great scene. You know, those bigger moments. She's really good at those moments. I think where her weakness has, and I think it's the same in Charlie's Angels. I think some of the big action sequences and whatnot were really fantastic. I think the pacing and the tempo and the narrative beats between some of those scenes in all those movies are what they're the weakest point. You know, you luck out in Pitch Perfect 2 because the familiarity with the characters and the love for those existing characters kind of help you go through those bits when it's inconsistent or
that's fair,
lacking the quality. Just the natural charisma and charm that those characters have and your already existing connection to them can carry you through that. And then Charlie's Angels, you don't have that. You don't have that in this. So those moments kind of slow and they detract and they don't elevate or give the movie any flow.
Yeah, I've never actually thought about that with her movies before, but you're right. It's like, it's almost like she knows how to write and show you really big, important moments in a movie, but like the connecting in between stuff is very, I guess, lacking in a way.
And that's not to say that she can't get better at it.
Right.
I do think that this movie is a step up above those other two in that regard. I think it's a little better, but I also think that the script was weaker in some of those regards with how much filler they put in. They put in so much filler to make up for the lack of what the existing story really is that you just don't connect with any of it.
And it's already a short movie. Like it's an hour 35. Yeah.
You know, and it's a weird focus with it. And so, like I said, wildly succeeds on all the bear scenes in this movie for the most part. Wildly succeeds. Truly enjoyed those. Those are what I signed up for with this movie. But unfortunately, this movie is not Snakes on a Plane. Where Snakes on a Plane promised me two things. Samuel L. Jackson and Snakes on a Plane. This movie promised me Cocaine Bear. And didn't give me enough Cocaine Bear. It gave me so much other shit. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck. It even had Isaiah Whitlock Jr. And they did not even do a full Isaiah Whitlock Jr. And if there was ever a movie that deserved a full Isaiah Whitlock Jr., it was this movie.
That's very
How
good
the
point.
fuck do you have Isaiah Whitlock Jr. standing on top of a gazebo, seeing a cocaine bear, knowing it is a cocaine bear? And he doesn't give one of the best cinematic ever.
Yep.
He did it.
That's a good point.
He did it in Black Klansman.
Mm-hmm.
Why aren't you doing it in this?
That is a very good point. If there ever was a movie for that.
And I feel bad for Isaiah Whitlock Jr. just because he's been pigeonholed with that. But he is also sold bobbleheads that say that. So I'm just saying, if you're ever going to do it in a movie, if you're ever going to do it in a movie, it is this movie. It is that scene. Everything was queued up like God was standing above this movie's production and parted the clouds and shined holy God light onto production. And they didn't do it.
For that moment, yeah.
Why? Just why?
It's a great question.
At this point? Why do you even make this movie if you're not going to do that?
Maybe there's like a deleted scene or something that has it.
Then you fire whoever the fuck took it out of this movie.
Yeah.
They don't belong in Hollywood. They don't belong in the movie making business. Shit. They shouldn't even be allowed to watch movies anymore or anything.
It's a full-on crime.
Because they obviously have no fucking clue what the fuck they are doing. I'm just saying. It was there and they just missed it.
Yeah, it was right there. That's a good point.
Recommendations and scores?
Sure.
That was the wrong button.
Recommendations and score.
I'll start this one.
Okay.
I recommend this movie only if you're streaming it from a streaming service. I don't really see the point in going and seeing this in a theater. I don't see the point in, renting it on pay-per-view or anything like that. When this comes on fucking Hulu or HBO Max or Peacock or whatever fucking streaming service it ultimately ends up on, watch it then. If you have not seen this movie, just wait. Watch it then. It is not worth doing any of this extra shit for. I mean, the acting is just fine. I'll say that the kids didn't annoy me as much as kids typically do in a movie, which is good. The little boy who is also in Sweet Tooth, I liked him better in this than I did in Sweet Tooth. In Sweet Tooth, he annoys me. He didn't annoy me in this movie. O'Shea was fine. He was fine. Guy that played Han Solo in Solo was fine. I mean, I guess Ray Liotta was fine. Everybody's fine.
Kerry Russell.
Yeah. What's his name? Tyler Ferguson? Or Jesse Tyler Ferguson?
Oh, yeah. That was him, huh?
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Yep.
Yeah, he was the inspector guy. I want to say it isn't. The park ranger has been in 90 billion movies. I feel bad that I don't remember her name. Margot Martindale.
Yeah.
She was in 90,000 movies. What's his name? Tormund from Game of Thrones is in this movie.
That's who that was. I didn't even recognize him.
How do you not recognize that long-haired, red-bearded motherfucker from Iceland?
I don't know. Because I love Tormund, but for whatever reason, I just didn't.
He looks
look
just
like
like Tormund, but with glasses.
I didn't even realize. Wow.
Yes, and his name is Jesse Tyler Ferguson. I was right. I mean, everybody's fine. I just also didn't care in the end. Because I cared about one thing. Cocaine Bear.
Matthew Rhys is in this movie?
Yeah, he plays the pilot that is throwing all the drugs and it hits his head. Yeah, that's him.
Kerry Russell's man. Yeah, I didn't. Man, all these people that I didn't recognize them in this movie. Interesting.
I can't believe you didn't recognize him. It looked just like him.
Well, there was so much going on screen. I think I just wasn't paying attention to the face. I was just paying attention to what was going on.
All that was going on screen was he was throwing cocaine out of a plane.
Yeah.
But anyway. Ultimately, I will give this movie a 45 dismembered legs falling out of trees. in front of children's who will never escape the horrifying screams for the rest of their life. Out of 100. Heather, what's your recommendation and score?
Yeah, I highly agree with you about it's not worth going to see in a theater really for any particular reason. If this type of movie interests you, definitely wait for streaming. There's not really a specific type of moviegoer that I would necessarily say you've got to see it. I think, I don't know. I feel like it's one of those movies that there's going to be a certain subset of people that are just like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. And then there's going to be the people that are like, I absolutely hated it. It's a very like uneven movie in that sort of way. And you're going to get something from both ends of the spectrum because it's such a crazy movie and the concept of it's crazy that alone, I think makes people be like, this is going to be great. And it is great, but I don't know. For me, it was just very uneven and it didn't engage me enough or invest me enough into any specific character or storyline. And it was just a movie. Am I glad I saw it once? Sure. But not really something I'm going to, put in rotation. I would, so I recommend it if, you just stream it. That's a good way to put it, I would say. I'm going to give it, I was actually going to be pretty similar to you. Like I was going to give it a little bit less than half, but I was going to go with a 48 children pretending that they've done cocaine out of 100.
I will say this. That was a fantastic scene.
That might have been my favorite scene. One of my favorite scenes. It was probably one of the funniest for sure.
It was. And just the entire crowd groaning when they realize these kids are just going to shove cocaine in their mouths.
Yeah.
But that makes the official Cinescore for this movie a 31. That can't be right. Hold on. I know what I did. With my math. Hold on.
Math isn't mathing today.
It's a 47.
Okay. I was like,
no.
Do you know what Cinescore would be?
I divided by 3 instead of 2.
Yeah, because we usually have 3. Yeah.
Yes, because I normally divide by 3. I divided by 3. It is a 47.
Yeah.
At least I realized I was wrong because I said that 31 and I'm like, wait, we both gave it something in the 40s. How the fuck did it get to 31?
For those watching us on YouTube, like we gave each other this look of like, wait a minute.
Yeah. Then I looked at it and I'm like, and that's when it clicked because our combined score was a 93. So then to average it, 93 by 3 is 31. Like quick, easy, bam. Like,
yeah.
My bad. 47. I can't say anything right now. 47. Cinescore 47. It's already been on the screen. It's gone away a couple of times, all this bullshit. 47. All right. Spoilers?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Spoilers.
Okay, little backstory. So, when this movie says it's based on a true story or inspired by true events or whatever the fuck this movie says at the beginning, this movie is one of the loosest based on anything true as ever. For the most part, the only person in this movie that, as far as I know and what I've looked up, was a real person was, what was his name? Andrew. Shit. Of course, I can't remember the guy's name now. Andrew Thornton, the Matthew Reese character. As far as I know, is the only real person. Because that was a thing. He was coming back from Colombia. He was just, nobody knows why, but he just started dumping drugs out of the back of the plane. He put on the autopilot and jumped out. He was a trained paratrooper. So the fact that he died from jumping out of a plane really surprised a lot of people that knew him because he was kind of an expert at it. He knew what he was doing. But, you know, was also on a bunch of cocaine. Was also doing it at night without your typical gear. He did have night vision goggles. But yeah, nobody knows why he set autopilot and then jumped after dumping all the drugs. No one knows why, mainly because he was by himself and dead. But that little bit of the news story where the guy talks about coming out of his house and there was just a dead guy with a parachute on, that's real.
Wow.
That was the real news footage from that scene. Yeah, that was a real thing. And that whole thing at the end when they're like, nobody found Andrew Thornton's drugs. They did. They found a lot of his drugs. That's how they know where he was coming from. Because they literally found a trail of drugs. All that shit. And then when it comes to the cocaine bear itself, there was a real cocaine bear. Really was a thing. Mm-hmm. A black bear, ate 40 kilos of coke.
Ooh.
And then promptly fucking died from eating 40 kilos of coke.
Right.
Because every possible, like, that bear had like liver failure, renal failure, heart failure, every possible bad side effect of what the fuck happens when you do a shit ton of coke. That bear had.
Oh, yeah. Had to. Yeah.
Like its stomach was ulcerated from just having all this cocaine in it, all that shit. The bear ate the coke and OD'd real quick because it was 40 kilos of fucking coke.
Yeah. I'm actually curious how quickly he died from that.
Not that he was not alive that long after ingesting the coke. There was still, if I'm remembering correctly, there was like undigested cocaine still in its stomach type of thing. Like hadn't even finished digesting the cocaine, it died. Yeah. And then that is the story of the cocaine bear.
Wow.
Cocaine bear itself went missing. They stuffed it, like they stuffed the bear. It went missing. Waylon Jennings bought it. He gave it to a friend. That friend died. Somebody bought it at an auction. And then that guy died. And then his wife sold it back to these people. It's so now that the cocaine bear itself is like in a mall in Kentucky. But once again, it's also in Kentucky. It's not even in fucking Tennessee where all the shit happened. It's in Kentucky. But yeah, that's pretty much the story of the cocaine bear, like really wrapped up.
Okay. I mean, and it's interesting and it's bizarre, but yeah, it's almost like, what do you do with a whole movie about that?
I mean, yeah, like pretty much, like I said, every character, as far as I know, was just kind of made up for the movie. Or if not, they were like adapted into the movie's thing. Because like, yeah, Thornton was like drug smuggling for a group called The Company. Like it was the 80s. They weren't really clever with their syndicate names. And so essentially that's what like Ray Liotta and O'Shea Jr. and Alden Einrich or whatever, that's their group is more or less supposed to mimic being what The Company was type of scenario.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, just like I said, everything else, because Cocaine Bear did not go on rampage. Cocaine Bear wasn't just running around going, oh my God, give me more cocaine.
Just a real quick addiction to it.
There was no cocaine bear cubs. Like just all that shit. All that shit was just made up for the movie. And that's what I think kind of drives me nuts with this movie is you made up a bunch of shit. Why are you making up uninteresting shit?
Yeah, especially with the cocaine bear at the helm of this movie.
I mean, they are running around. They're like, hey, we're in Tennessee. Now we're in St. Louis. And now we're back in Tennessee. And now we're in this other part of Tennessee. But now we're back in St. Louis. Now we're driving from St. Louis. Now we're doing this. Now we're doing. I'm like, fuck off, man. It's just fucking boring with all that shit. And then towards the end of the movie, when they're like going in and they're like, oh yeah, because that can't, like they know something somewhere and they're like, yeah, how'd you know this was here? Oh, because of that camper. And then it goes back and shows a camper getting killed. I'm like, why didn't you just show that? Why didn't you just show that happening in the order it happened?
That was weird.
Why are you literally like passing over it to go 5 minutes back to go right back to that moment? Like just show it in order at that point.
Either that or you didn't have to show it and just be like, remember when we ran across that dead body? Like,
yeah,
we'll know who you mean probably. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, or just have them walking and show them running across a dead body. And then you show that scene. You don't show the scene, then go, remember 5 seconds ago? Bum, bum,
Yeah.
bum.
It would have taken just the same amount of time, probably.
That was one of the most infuriating movie making decisions of my life.
Yeah, it was pretty weird.
In what universe do you flash back 5 minutes when you could have just showed it? Like it wasn't even like it's a reveal, like a surprise, like a twist. No, they went, hey, we're going to show them 7 minutes before that scene. Then we're going to fast forward 7 minutes when they're arriving at the cave, just to go back 5 minutes to go back 5 again.
Right.
I'm like, why?
Yeah, that was kind of an odd decision.
And then you have the cop double cross, where the cop double crosses the other guy. I don't even remember why. It was just such a non-factor bullshit scene. I just didn't even care. It was all to have a dog get passed from one people to another.
Right.
So I'm just like, why does any of that matter? You know?
Yeah, you're right. Because I'm trying to think, like, why did she double cross? She just wanted the money for the drugs or something?
It's probably, money or something like that. But then also, it's a weird thing where it's like, these are cops in Kentucky or Tennessee, but like they're getting paid off and familiar from people with St. Louis. And it's all just weird in that regard.
Yeah.
It's just wildly inconsistent with how they jump around with that stuff. And like I said, it doesn't end up coherently making much sense or mattering much in the end.
Right.
And I just don't know why they made those choices.
Especially so you're saying that you wanted, like, as much as they made up everything with Cocaine Bear, you wanted more of that, right? You just wanted more of that crazy.
Since your story is 99.9% made up.
Yeah. Give me more Cocaine Bear.
Give me the one thing that is actually interesting.
Yeah.
Drug people doing drug shit. I've seen that movie 9 billion times.
Yeah.
You know what I haven't seen? Cocaine Bears.
Yeah. That's a very valid point. And it was definitely the more interesting parts of this movie whenever Cocaine Bear was on screen.
Oh, yeah. Everything else was just boring. I mean, and they had some really creative kill scenes with that bear. Like so many people were cringing in that theater. You doing that whole antsy thing of like, ugh. His entrails are coming out.
Yeah.
I thought it was glorious.
And you know what? It's like with a movie like this, it's not like you shouldn't expect that type of thing. But I think, I don't know. I guess everything surrounding it, you're just kind of like waiting for the buildup of it. And then, it's brutal when you see it, but it's just, I don't know, like the moments they do it, I'm either not expecting it in that moment or I'm just not expecting they are actually going to go that crazy with it. And I don't know why, because they definitely from the first kill, were all in with the gore fest. But yeah, it was, just the way they did the killings, it was very, very gruesome and made me wince a bit myself, but it was just so bonkers that it was still entertaining to see it.
Well, and like what also bothered me about it is they do that thing that they sometimes do in any type of like monster or crazy animal movie where no matter where the character they're focusing on at the moment is, that animal or monster is right nearby.
Oh yeah, just all the time.
They're
Every
like
time.
6 miles away from the last time we see it, and only like 2 minutes have passed, and all of a sudden that bear is there.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just like, geez. It's like everybody within 30 feet of each other at all times. They're all just stupid and don't see each other. Well, that was kind of one of the bad habits they got into with some of the Jurassic Park movies at the end. It's just, anytime anybody's out in the wilderness and all this other shit, they play fast and loose with time and distance. But not with the monsters are just always right there. At one point, I thought they were going to be like, oh, no, there was 2 cocaine bears. Just because of like, they were doing some straight up like Game of Thrones season 7 and 8 distance traveling real fast. Just teleportation.
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah.
Anyway, what's some more thoughts from you?
Yeah, I mean, and the funny thing is with it, like, I'm with you on wanting to have seen more Cocaine Bear. Even when they did the Cubs with the cocaine, it was amusing. And like, I also, one part that I did enjoy, like we talked about the scene with the 2 kids where they're, on this adventure in the woods or wherever they're at, and then they're trying to just one up each other and be like, I've done cocaine. Like, I bet you couldn't do this. And just that whole thing was really well done. And I think that sort of kind of set up the rest of the movie for failure because I expected that level of amusement the whole way through. And that was pretty much at the beginning of the film where they did that. And I was like, if it's going to be this level the whole time, this is going to be a lot funnier than I necessarily like expected it to be. But it wasn't that level of humor and amusement throughout. They did have bits and pieces of that throughout, but it wasn't consistently on that level for me. I did also think it was funny. Margot, whatever her name was she the park ranger? Is that what she was? Yeah. I really thought it was funny, their lack of just concern for anything going on. Like, they're just like, especially her, because she had the crush on the guy, was like, just like, this lady needs to find her missing kid. And like, just, they're very unconcerned with actual like things that are happening in this park. And I thought that was funny. I thought that was well played because it just kind of added to the kind of dark humor that they sort of have in this film. And I will say, Margot, whatever her name was in the movie, her death that's the one that got me. That's the one that like really made me wince a little bit, where they're like, her body topples over and she's like dragged. That was,
when she face skids on the road.
Yes, the face skid, that one. That was really like, ooh, but it was cool too though, because you're just like, oh man, this is like nuts. This is going to get wild. But yeah, there are moments here and there scattered in where I was like, this is actually really funny. And it kind of is what we've talked about in other movies before, where there's that potential, right? There's the potential of, man, this could be so great. And it didn't deliver, especially like you talk about with, it's definitely very loosely based on like a real story. So go nuts with it. Go crazy if you're going to do this story. The name of this, it like gives you this like vibe that this movie is going to just be the absolute most insane thing you've ever seen. And it's not really. There's only moments of that. I mean, and I always find it interesting when people can do a movie well based off of very little true story stuff. Like I think about that movie, The Harder They Fall, where at the beginning of it, they basically just say, these people existed. That's it. These people were real people. And like, that's the only true basis of the movie.
What movie was that?
The one with Jonathan Majors, Idris Elba, the cowboy Western one.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, God, I know that title, but it's not clicking. No, yes, fantastic movie.
Yeah, excellent movie. But I actually thought it was really clever, and I loved how they did that. They're like, these people existed, and that's the only true basis of anything we're talking about here. And like, I thought that was a very clever way to do it. And it kind of made me appreciate it more, because it's just like, yeah, we want to put some historical real people that you might, recognize in this, but we're not going to pretend like this is real.
It's the whole idea of making like historical fiction.
Right. Yeah.
Take an event and kind of just play around with it.
Yeah.
And that's what they were doing. But like I said, they just put so much boring shit in there.
Yeah. That's why The Harder They Fall is so good, because you're just like, man, this would be an incredible like thing if this is real. And yeah, they just missed the opportunity to make this something that you're like, oh my goodness, like I want to research this movie. I want to research what happened. Even like with Woman King, where I'm like, I want to see what actually happened with this tribe of people. And, you just want to like investigate more what actually happened in the real story of it. And this one, it was just kind of a letdown to realize, oh, okay, well, that's, they're not even going to make the effort to like make it more fun, knowing that it's just very loosely based on something true.
And then on top of that, the most interesting thing in the real world story is Andrew Thornton.
Yeah.
And he's in the movie for 37 seconds?
Right. Yeah. Very, very small screen time there. Yes. Yeah, that's what it is. Like, it's crazy.
I mean, this movie is a less good version of, The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
Yeah.
Because I was disappointed with that movie. Because once again, I did not get like that insane Nick Cage that I wanted in that movie.
Nick Cage was your cocaine bear of that movie.
He was. And he was not as insane as he could have been.
Yeah.
So I was let down by that. But overall, the movie's good.
Yeah.
I was let down because I was expecting balls to the wall, Nick Cage. So then I get to this movie and I'm expecting balls to the wall, Cocaine Bear. And I didn't get it.
Yeah.
I got a bunch of other bullshit. But unfortunately, none of that added to the overall enjoyment of the movie. Like, you could have swapped all those characters out with other shit. And like, with the exception of like those kids doing cocaine scene, I did not give a fuck about any of the other real like people scenes in this movie.
Yeah, it's yeah, I agree with that. And like you'd almost just I expected, while I didn't have many expectations as far as what was going to happen in the story, I did expect like this crazy adventure, like this nonstop, like crazy adventure, which it had moments of, but because they interspersed some like low notes in this movie, it didn't gel the way that I expected a movie like this to do, if that makes sense.
No, that's fair.
Yeah.
I will say this. One possible good thing out of Cocaine Bear is the fact that Asylum, who is known for making terrible ripoffs of other movies, because of this movie, they are coming out with Meth Alligator.
Really?
Oh, I'm so fucking stoked for that fucking movie.
Okay.
Maybe it will deliver on what Cocaine Bear didn't. Give meth to an alligator and let's fucking go. I'm excited.
Did they set this one up for a sequel of any kind? I thought they did for some reason.
Well, the bear was alive at the end.
Okay. I don't know why I thought it said something at the end, or like I heard that it said something at the end with.
At the end.
Yeah.
It does the whole, like, they never found his drugs. So they're implying that maybe there's more drugs out there for the bear. And the very, like, so the mid-credit scene, it's one of the teenagers hitchhiking to New York. I don't know. There's some other fucking scene. I don't remember. And then the very last thing is the sound of a bear growling and snorting cocaine.
Okay.
So theoretically, yes, they could set up for a sequel and just be like, the bear is the reason why they never found the drugs. It was hoarding all the cocaine.
Yeah.
And still doing it and running rampages. Even though that's not how that'd work either. I mean, there was so much evidence that a bear was massacring people and doing cocaine. They would have tracked that fucker down and killed it.
Yeah. I mean, and the reason I say that too is because I thought I saw something on like Twitter or something where somebody captured like a screenshot of at the end of it says cocaine bear will return. But I don't know if it was real or if it was just somebody doing a fake out situation. But that's why I was curious. I didn't stay long enough to see that part, but just an interesting thing if they do it, because I also feel like with this type of story, a sequel is not needed. It is not necessary unless you're going to completely revamp this and make it all the things that we're saying we expected from this one, make that in the sequel. But otherwise, like if it's just more of this, there's 0 point to making a sequel to this movie. And I kind of hope they don't. So, but that's just me. I don't know. Like
on the other hand, without even seeing it,
mm-hmm.
I am completely for Meth Alligator 2.
Already. You're already signed up for a sequel. Yeah. You know what? I would be curious to see what that's like. We might have to check that one out. Like, be interesting to talk about that one.
I will look up when it's coming out.
Yeah. Is it going to be like a theater release or no?
Oh, God, no. Asylum movies don't go to theaters.
Okay. What else did they do?
You name it, they've done something like a ripoff of it. Like for Transformers, they did like they did something, it's like Transmuters or something.
Okay. So it's just like a parody of something else.
Well, it's not a parody. They're just weird, cheap ripoffs. Is what they are.
But they know what they are.
They call themselves mockbusters.
Makes sense.
They first started doing just a bunch of like shitty movies.
Mm-hmm.
But then like War of the Worlds came out, and then they also did War of the Worlds because they could. They did a King Kong thing called King of the Lost World. They did a Land of the Dead called Legion of the Dead.
Okay.
They did Snakes on a Train. The Da Vinci Treasure.
Sure. You got to do that one.
Instead of Halloween, they did Halloween Night.
Okay.
It's the Transmorphers. I'm sorry. The Transmorphers.
Transmorphers. Okay. Yeah. I mean,
instead of Aliens versus Predator, it's Alien versus Hunter.
Okay.
Shit like that. They did Mega Shark versus Giant Octopus.
Okay.
What's another good one?
Have you seen all these?
No.
Okay.
I've seen some of these. I have seen Mega Shark versus Giant Octopus. Mega Shark versus Crocosaurus.
Mm-hmm.
They did a Thor movie based on more like the Norse god shit that had Brad from Home Improvement in it. Instead of the Amityville Horror, it's the Amityville Haunting.
Okay.
You know, just shit like that. Instead of Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, it's Abraham Lincoln versus Zombies.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
I mean, they just do like a bunch of shit like that, you know.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's...
Real quick. Instead of Pacific Rim, they did Atlantic Rim.
Not even trying to like...
Oh, no. Instead of RoboCop, it's Android Cop.
Oh,
my God. These are just so fucking glorious. Mega Shark versus Mecha Shark. Oh, yeah. They did the Sharknado movies. I forgot they did the Sharknado
I was
movies.
wondering if that was them when you were talking about all these.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mega Shark versus Colossus. I forgot that they did the Sharknado movies. I shouldn't have. I own all of the Sharknado movies. Instead of Ghostbusters, Ghost Hunters. They're just fantastic with how little they try sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, I think that like
Triassic World.
Oh man.
Fucking love it.
Just make a list of them and watch them all eventually. I mean, and the thing with this is like, yeah, really just the biggest thing with this is make it a way more interesting, way more fun, like story and adventure that you're giving us with Cocaine Bear if you're going to make an entire movie about it and you have little true story stuff to base it on. Like, I just feel like there was just a lot of missed opportunities on that. So yeah, I don't know. And I feel like there are movies, like I was saying, that do it well with having limited true story basis, but making still a great movie. Like an example that I keep thinking of is this movie. It's called Zola, which came out, I want to say, a couple of years ago. And it was a movie based off of a crazy like strand of tweets that these two ladies that were former strippers had about like this crazy like weekend that they had together. And basically it's an entire movie based off of just this string of tweets that they got from these two women. And they made a fantastic movie surrounding that. And it was just, I feel like that's just so clever and really impressive that you can make a very interesting movie off of something just very, like a very small thing that it's loosely based on. And I think that they just had such a great platform and opportunity to like make Cocaine Bear something great and something that was so memorable. But I just don't feel like anything they do is going to be that memorable. And even the kills were definitely the more memorable thing about this movie. But I just don't know if anybody's going to be like, oh man, one of the best kills I've ever seen in a movie was from Cocaine Bear, you know? So I don't know. That's just kind of what I think about it.
I get it. Oh my. Anyway, I don't know. I'm kind of done talking about this movie because, like I said, I'm more excited about fucking meth gators. Right, fat boy? You got any more thoughts, though?
I don't think so.
He is very talkative now.
You wanted to join in?
You didn't even see the movie, buddy. You haven't even seen the trailer. Anyway, on that note, I guess thank you guys for listening to this episode of the Cinema Slayers podcast. I mean, that is a big clump of hair.
I was wondering what that was.
There's a big thing of cat hair off of my cat. Just little orange hair floating in the air. You need a brushing. Anyway, I guess thanks for listening. I mean, I kind of feel like, you know, I took a bullet for you guys because I watched this movie.
Mm-hmm.
So appreciate it, damn it.
Exactly.
No, thank you guys for listening to this episode of the Cinema Slayers podcast. Check us out on the internet at www.cinemaslayers.com. Cinema Slayers podcast on Facebook, at cinema_slayers on Twitter and Instagram. Cinema Slayers pod on TikTok, at Cinema Slayers pod on YouTube. Give us a 5-star rating and review. We'd really appreciate it. It'd really help us out. Tell your family, tell your friends, tell your friends' family, tell your family's friends, but most of all, tell those dear sweet mothers, because dear sweet mothers love
Cocaine Bears.
That's fair, I guess. I was going to say cocaine cubs.
Cocaine cubs.
Because they're babies and cuter.
There you go. Cocaine cubs. Yes, I'll accept that.
I'm glad you'll accept it, Heather.
Yes, I do.
Shout out to Plug Migo and Mundo Ochoa for our theme song and logos, respectively. But most of all, just remember, according to Justin, Moon Knight is a Best Picture winner.
Somebody will listen to me.
Nobody knows anything but you.
All right. Are you ready?
Yes.
Come on.
Cinema Slayers.
Is he still trying to talk? Just really wants to chime in on this podcast episode.
He doesn't talk as much when I'm like petting his face. If I pet his
Distraction.
face, he doesn't meow as much.
Okay.
Or if I do this. Got your face. I'm really surprised though, because the one on my lap and this one hate each other.
Oh, you have one on your lap.
And they're not even acknowledging each other at the moment. No, I've got Batty on my lap. Remember, Cinefan, she's the reason why you don't have a Magic Mike 3 episode right now. It's her. Right, little girl? I'm going to show everybody your face again, okay? Oh, hush.
Oh, look at that face. It's a cute face, everybody.
Oh, quit being a grumpy Gus. I shouldn't have done that. Because now Fat Boy wants to go get her.
But what about me? Oh, okay.
No, he wants to go get her now. Anyway. Oh, Cocaine Bear. But Meth Gator, Attack of the Meth Gator. Look out for it. Coming out this year.
Coming soon, yeah.
That's all I know so far. They haven't cast it.
Justin wanted his presence here a little bit more.
That was you.
Was that me?
Yeah. That's
In
spoilers.
my ears, it sounded like a lower voice. Okay. Okay. I heard it a little bit more clearly that time.
Spoilers.
Yeah, that's you.
There we go.
Recommendation.
That's Justin. You should know you're the spoilers voice.
Well, I just heard the very tail end of it. And so it just sounded like this lower tone. So I thought it was Justin's thing.
You are
Okay.
layered with a pitch down version of yourself.
Yeah, that's probably what I heard. Yeah.
Kind of
Anyway,
like how Justin's layered with a higher pitch version of his voice.
yeah.
Oh, a potato just came down the stairs. Everybody, you get to see the potato the least. Because she hates being picked up more than anything.
Uh-oh.
You've seen her a little bit, like she'll poke her head up and stuff, but I can't pick her up like the other ones. She's just a shy little potato.
Oh.
I think it's because she's shy. Because she has a broken meower. She can't actually meow. She just makes a series of grunts and tweets. Which is weird for a cat. Oh, hi, Tweety Bird. That's her other nickname. She's either a potato or a Tweety Bird. Sometimes she's both. Sometimes she's various forms of potatoes, like tater tots, or baked potatoes, or hash brown casseroles.
Yet her actual name is...
Abizu.
Yeah.
The demon of fetal deaths and miscarriages.
Well, there you go. Anyway, on that note.
That's always a weird note to end on. My cats are
Yeah.
named after demons. There's not much I can do about it. So that was just one of the first demon names I saw, and I was like, that is so cool.
It is a cool sounding name.
Anyway, like it's kind of like Fat Boy. Fat Boy's name is actually Abigor, which is a demon knight in the legions of hell.
Okay.
And Batty is actually Batty Pat, which is a Filipino sleep demon.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the ones that when you were traveling and like say you would like lie down next to a tree to sleep, they'd crawl up on your chest. And it's kind of like the whole sleep paralysis thing.
Yeah.
But they'd lay on your chest and suck the life force out of you. But you couldn't breathe because they were like suffocating you. Yes, that is what Batty Bat is named after. But we just call her Batty. And then Lilith's kind of like it's very straightforward. You know, Lilith, some people like to say the first wife of Adam, because there are some very loose interpretations of the Bible where people think that that's a thing. But then also considered the mother of all monsters and demons. So
makes sense.
That's a thing. I mean, I name them all after demons. I just don't end up calling them their full names ever.
Right.
Bizu is probably the one I called her name the most. Which she does have the nickname of like BB.
You have a lot of nicknames for her.
Bizu. Yeah, she's a little potato Tweety bird. Yeah. Like if you ever see her run, it looks like a potato with legs just running. And then like, you know how like, have you ever seen on like TikTok or anything like that where they talk about a cat loafing? It's where they like tuck their arms or their legs and arms under themselves and their like tail. So it looks like a bread loaf, right? Well, when she does it, she looks like a little potato.
I see.
She's potato shaped.
That makes sense then.
I'm infinitely more interested in talking about my cats than I am this movie. All right, fat boy. Come here. Okay. See, that's fat.
He's a big boy.
That's my fat boy. My fat boy. I have to do this because he just begs for attention. So I just have to give him so much attention that he wants to go away. He's like, no, that's too much.
This is if there was ever a promotion for everyone to check out the YouTube video, it's just so you could see these cute little kitties.
Look at the camera, buddy. Oh, let go of my shirt. We're looking at the camera.
This face.
He hates
too
being
cute.
picked up.
He's so cute.
Look at the camera. See?
Aw. So cute.
All right, I'm going to put you down. Okay.
Just a day in the life of Sterling with his cats.
Pretty much. On that note, we are done. We're done with this episode. I'm out.